So imagine a cube 6 miles across, deep and high.
Damn.
And that's how much lava came out.
You might find it hard to believe, yet the image you're looking at right now is not specific to one place. In reality, this is the location of the Pacific Plate's close contact with the North American Plate. As a result, if you come here with a friend, you could both be standing on two different tectonic plates while being in the same location. But what exactly is this place? It's the notorious San Andreas Fault line in California, which may have been the catalyst for one of the deadliest tragedies in California's history, according to historical records. Astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is renowned for promoting science literacy among the general public, has compelling arguments for thinking that the San Andreas Fault may crack soon. His observations-based opinions provide an insightful look at the tenuous equilibrium between human existence and Earth's geologic processes. So, what are the top 10 opinions that Tyson supports through a scientific approach to an imminent large-scale disaster? What's in there for us to understand? You will get to know this and many more as we dive into details. However, before getting started with the video officially, here's a quick reminder that you can subscribe for free, and liking will help your personal algorithm. 1. Tyson's observations on increased seismic activity. The apparent rise in seismic activity in and around the region serves as the foundation for Tyson's main claim regarding the anticipated movement of the San Andreas Fault. While Tyson is an astrophysicist, his extensive scientific training and keen understanding of the connections between numerous scientific fields enable him to offer informed views on the topic of seismology. As the first sign, Tyson points to the rising number and intensity of tremors in the region. Seismologists pay great attention to this seismic activity, even though it is frequently too quiet for locals to perceive. As these small earthquakes increase in frequency, they can be a sign that the fault is under stress. The tectonic plates on either side of the San Andreas Fault are storing this tension, which Tyson describes as acting like a ticking time bomb. More and more pressure accumulates with each passing day. The only way this pressure can be released is through earthquakes. According to Tyson, the pressure is at a critical level and may soon lead to a big seismic event, given the rate at which tremors are occurring. Tyson also draws attention to research conducted by the U.S. Geological Survey that uncovered a startling yet fascinating trend. According to a USGS study, the interval between significant earthquakes on the San Andreas Fault has been getting shorter. Tyson interprets this as another indication of an impending large-scale earthquake, since it indicates that the time intervals between important seismic episodes are getting shorter. After years of intensive research, seismologists now have a better understanding of how faults like the San Andreas behave. Tyson thinks that the San Andreas Fault appears to follow some sort of timetable based on the patterns identified by these experts, such as the evidence of previous large earthquakes in the local geological record. This viewpoint holds that a big earthquake is overdue at the fault. The distinctive quality of Tyson's findings is his capacity to make complex geophysical phenomena understandable and interesting to the general public. He talks about the matter with his customary charisma and conviction, emphasizing the seriousness of the impending catastrophe. Despite the seriousness of the issue, Tyson makes sure that his audience understands that it is a call for readiness and comprehension of the natural environment in which we live, rather than a reason for unnecessary panic. The urgent need for readiness is highlighted by Tyson's observations of the increased seismic activity along the San Andreas Fault line. He imparts his knowledge not to sow fear, but to promote action and raise awareness of this serious geological issue. Tyson provides convincing justifications for paying close attention to the San Andreas Fault rumblings by striking a balance between scientific understanding and thorough consideration of human implications. 2. Understanding plate tectonics and its relevance. One must first understand the underlying principle of plate tectonics in order to comprehend Neil deGrasse Tyson's viewpoint. Tectonic plates are the various major and minor parts of the Earth's crust. These plates move slowly but cause significant geological events like earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and the formation of mountain ranges because they float on the semi-fluid layer of the mantle beneath them. The Pacific and North American plates are separated by the San Andreas Fault. Tyson's grasp of the geological movements taking place along this fault line is closely related to his thoughts on the likelihood of a significant earthquake in this area. The San Andreas is a transformed fault because the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate slide past one another in a horizontal motion. Despite appearing harmless in comparison to the devastating vertical movement seen at convergent boundaries where plates clash, This horizontal movement can result in strong earthquakes. The velocity and direction of plate movement are the most important factors to take into account in this tectonic puzzle, as Tyson frequently emphasizes. At a pace of around 46.56 millimeters per year, the Pacific plate is moving northwest with respect to the North American plate. Despite the fact that it may appear insignificant, the cumulative effect over many years can lead to tremendous stress. Where Tyson's expertise in astrophysics is useful in describing the enormous scope of these forces, Tyson's experience enables him to conceptualize and express the enormity of these otherwise abstract geological forces, even while the study of seismology supplies the data and observations concerning the faults and their motions. The Pacific and North American plates are constantly moving, which causes stress to build up at their boundary. This stress eventually releases itself as earthquakes, which are a form of seismic energy. However, if friction prevents movement along the fault, stress continues to build until it eventually outweighs the frictional force, resulting in a powerful earthquake. Tyson has emphasized the importance of keeping an eye out for this continual stress buildup. Awareness plate tectonics, in Tyson's opinion, is more than simply a theoretical exercise. It also offers helpful context that enhances our awareness of the scope and inevitable nature of geological events, promoting more educated planning and decision-making in regard to earthquake preparedness and reaction. 3. The role of stress accumulation. deGrasse, Neil. A key component of Tyson's perspective on the imminent seismic disaster is his study of stress buildup along the San Andreas Fault. Tyson offers a perspective viewpoint on how the buildup of stress at tectonic boundaries can cause earthquakes thanks to his sharp understanding of physics and the forces of nature. The buildup of potential energy along the plate boundary where the Pacific and North American plates collide is what Tyson refers to as stress accumulation. Due to the friction between the plates, their movement is not smooth but rather more like a start-stop action. Stress begins to accumulate when this friction causes the plates to become stuck at the fault line. This stores potential energy similar to how a loaded spring does. The plates finally overcome the frictional resistance, which causes them to snap into a new position, releasing the built-up stress. We sense earthquakes as seismic waves as a result of a sudden release of energy. The magnitude of the resultant earthquake increases with increasing accumulated stress. According to Tyson, this accumulating tension is a natural occurrence brought on by the inalienable movement of tectonic plates and cannot be avoided or alleviated. He therefore places more emphasis on being ready and comprehending the nature of these geologic forces than on making fruitless attempts to halt them. The unequal distribution of stress along the fault is a crucial issue that Tyson addresses. Asperities are parts of the body that are more difficult to move and hence experience more stress. These regions frequently serve as the epicenters of large earthquakes. Finding and researching these stress sites can give important information about the likely earthquake epicenter. The significance of comprehending these organic processes is emphasized by Tyson's view of the role of stress building in foretelling the activity of the San Andreas faults. In his opinion, knowing about these geologic forces not only gives us knowledge but also promotes respect for the power of nature. Given the stress that has already built up along the San Andreas Fault, this understanding is a requirement for effective preparedness plans and emphasizes the urgency with which action must be taken. 4. Historical earthquake patterns. Neil deGrasse Tyson's assessment of past earthquake patterns is one of his theories for why the San Andreas Fault will eventually fail. Tyson has a good eye for patterns in nature, which is a characteristic shared by astrophysicists who study the cycles and patterns of celestial bodies. This talent is useful in the study of seismic activity, since past patterns frequently predict present events. For instance, there has historically been strong seismic activity around the San Andreas Fault. Two of the most famous occurrences linked to this fault line are the 1857 Fort Tejon earthquake and the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. The stress that built up along the San Andreas Fault as a result of the movement of tectonic plates caused these two earthquakes, which are both estimated to have been over magnitude 7. According to Tyson, there appears to be a pattern in the gaps between such big earthquake events. According to studies, there are significant earthquakes along the southern San Andreas Fault around every 150 years. Tyson points out that we're ready for another one based on historical trends, given that the previous significant earthquake in this area occurred in 1857. Tyson emphasizes, however, that while past trends can point to a potential timescale, they do not offer a firm forecast. The nature of tectonic plate movements and the ensuing seismic events is extremely complicated and is controlled by a variety of still poorly understood geological processes. Tyson wants to emphasize the value of understanding and respecting the strength of natural geological processes by sharing his observations on past earthquake patterns. His study of the San Andreas Fault's historical seismic activity serves as a warning of possible future seismic activity that the area might encounter. His strategy encourages us to carefully examine these patterns so that we can anticipate any consequences rather than being caught off guard. 5. Infrastructure vulnerability. Neil deGrasse Tyson discusses the possibility of the San Andreas Fault rupturing, and he also emphasizes the significant effects such a geological event would have on current infrastructure. Infrastructure vulnerability during a large earthquake is a big concern, particularly in developed and densely inhabited areas like California. According to Tyson, our towns, cities, and the infrastructure that supports them are not built to resist the forces generated by a significant earthquake. Whereas current building codes take into account seismic activity and have guidelines in place, the great majority of buildings in earthquake-prone regions were constructed before these requirements were put in place. Tyson also takes into account the potential effects on transportation infrastructure, including damage to bridges, airports, seaports, and highways, which might substantially impede post-earthquake rescue and recovery activities. Given how linked the world economy is today, the economic ramifications of such disruptions might be astounding and go far beyond the surrounding area. Tyson's views on infrastructure vulnerability are not just criticisms, they also have an undertone of a call to action. He is an advocate for adding seismic safety features to both new and existing infrastructure, especially in high-risk locations along the San Andreas Fault. He is in favor of retrofitting older structures to meet current seismic safety requirements and using cutting-edge engineering techniques to strengthen infrastructure. Tyson emphasizes the value of knowing that the Earth is a dynamic, ever-changing creature through his conversations. He contends that rather than ignoring or making an effort to oppose these changes, our built environment ought to acknowledge. 6. Human-induced seismicity. Neil deGrasse Tyson also emphasizes the significance of human-induced seismicity in the context of forecasting seismic activity along the San Andreas Fault. Earthquakes and tremors that are generated by human activities that change the stress conditions in the Earth's crust are referred to as human-induced or anthropogenic seismicity. Tyson lists a number of actions that can result in human-induced seismicity. The extraction of natural resources like coal, gas, and oil is one of these. The removal of these resources from the Earth has the potential to alter the stress distribution in the crust, causing ground subsidence and possibly even igniting seismic activity. Tyson frequently mentions cases in which mining operations have been directly connected to seismic occurrences. In order to extract natural gas or oil from the Earth, a procedure known as hydraulic fracturing, sometimes known as fracking, is one that Tyson regularly addresses. This mechanism can cause seismic events, usually of modest size. However, more major quakes have been noted on occasion. Tyson also draws attention to the fact that wastewater from oil and gas extraction, which is frequently disposed of into deep wells in some places, can cause seismic activity. By lubricating the fault and raising the pore pressure in the rock, the water injection can make it simpler for the built-up tectonic stress to rupture as an earthquake. The filling of substantial reservoirs behind dams is another instance of human-caused seismicity that Tyson analyzes. The enormous weight of the water, known as reservoir-induced seismicity, can change the tension on the subsurface crust and cause seismic activity. He emphasizes that these human-caused seismic events show just how much human activity may obstruct the planet's normal geologic processes. Tyson's discussions go beyond a purely scholarly investigation of human-induced seismicity. He highlights these incidents as a call to action for better environmental and natural resource management. Tyson emphasizes the need for greater regulatory monitoring, more sustainable practices in industries like mining and oil extraction, and less deliberate seismic event triggering. Tyson maintains that we should think about the ramifications of human-induced seismicity as part of a bigger discussion about earthquake preparedness and environmental responsibility, even though he doesn't claim that it would directly produce a huge earthquake on the San Andreas Fault. He contends that as we continue to influence and alter our environment, we must take into account all potential repercussions, even those that might appear unconnected, like an increase in seismic activity. 7. Intertwined climate change and earthquakes. Tyson's findings on the impending San Andreas Fault fracture also touch on the subject of climate change. Seismology and climatology are typically regarded as distinct scientific fields, but Tyson makes fascinating linkages between them to highlight how intertwined Earth's natural processes actually are. Tyson makes the case that earthquake activity may be indirectly impacted by climate change. His viewpoint is based on the knowledge that polar ice caps and glaciers are melting as a result of human-induced climate change, which is shifting the distribution of mass on the planet's surface. This mass redistribution might have an impact on the Earth's crust, increasing seismic activity. The occurrence of isostatic rebound is one of Tyson's main worries. This is the process by which the Earth's crust springs back, or rebounds, into its previous shape after being released from the tremendous weight of melted glaciers. This shifting of the crust may help fault lines release built-up stress, which in turn may cause earthquakes. He also analyzes the potential effects of sea level rise brought on by climate change on seismic activity. Tectonic plates may become more stressed along some fault lines due to the added weight from increasing sea levels. Given its inland location, the San Andreas Fault may not be directly impacted, but this illustrates the intricate relationships between multiple Earth systems that may affect seismic activity in diverse areas. Throughout these debates, Tyson is eager to point out that while tectonic forces continue to be the dominating factor, climate change and human activity may have an impact on seismic activity. Nevertheless, in our fast-changing world, understanding these potential influences is essential. Tyson encourages readers to consider Earth as a complex, interrelated system when discussing the relationship between climate change and earthquakes. His observations inspire us to widen our understanding of seismic activity and take into account all affecting factors, not just those that are immediately apparent. Such holistic knowledge is not only necessary but also useful as we handle the twin challenges of climate change and seismic dangers. 8. Tyson's views on preparedness and disaster response. Neil deGrasse Tyson gives preparedness and disaster response a lot of thought as he talks about the possibility of the San Andreas Fault cracking. Tyson offers ideas into how people, communities, and governments can more effectively prepare for and respond to major seismic disasters by drawing on his wide scientific expertise and his grasp of societal dynamics. First of all, Tyson is an advocate for being self-reliant. He advises people to be fully aware of the threats they face and the precautions they might take to protect themselves and their property. These could entail setting up a family emergency plan, securing large pieces of furniture, and assembling a disaster pack with food, water, and materials for first aid. At the local level, Tyson stresses the value of education and calls on community organizations and schools to disseminate knowledge on earthquake safety measures, including drop, cover, and hold-on drills. He also emphasizes the importance of building strong social networks and ties that people can rely on in the event of a crisis in order to increase community resilience. In his discussion on earthquake preparedness and response, Tyson also touches on the function of institutions and governments. He contends that in order to make sure that buildings can resist seismic activity, they have a duty to enforce and update construction codes. They should also spend money on infrastructure like reinforced hospitals, fire stations, and emergency operations centers that are built to withstand earthquakes. Tyson talks about the need for effective disaster response strategies in addition to the physical infrastructure. Effective communication tactics, evacuation protocols, and resource management plans should all be part of these plans. As the specifics of each earthquake might vary greatly, Tyson emphasizes the need for these preparations to be adaptable and flexible. Tyson's ideas on disaster response and readiness go beyond these pragmatic reasons, though. He also talks about how people deal with tragedies psychologically. He promotes a mental shift away from fear and towards understanding, contending that a better comprehension of seismic activity might make people feel less scared and better prepared. He frequently reaffirms that knowing earthquakes can help lessen their consequences and that they are a normal occurrence that are a part of living on a dynamic planet. Tyson's emphasis on the importance of science in disaster response is one of his methods that I find most persuasive. He promotes continuous research into tectonic activity and earthquakes and maintains that science is a vital instrument in our fight to protect ourselves from natural disasters. Finally, Tyson advocates for using each earthquake occurrence as a teaching opportunity. Every earthquake offers insightful information that helps us better comprehend these natural occurrences and develop our preparedness and response plans. 9. Technological predictions and Neil Tyson's skepticism. Neil deGrasse Tyson frequently brings up earthquake prediction technologies while discussing the possibility of the San Andreas Fault cracking. Tyson maintains a healthy skepticism when it comes to the idea of being able to forecast when an earthquake will occur, even though technology has significantly improved our understanding of earthquakes and our capacity to respond to them. While Tyson acknowledges the advances achieved in seismological technologies, such as the development of advanced ground movement monitoring systems and better seismic wave analysis methods, as well as more advanced tectonic behavior computer models, he advises against placing undue reliance on these methods for accurate earthquake forecasting. Tyson's skepticism stems from the geologic processes on Earth's surface, which are inherently complicated and variable. As a result of the interaction of numerous elements, earthquakes occur in a nonlinear system, making it extremely difficult to predict with high confidence when and where they will occur. Although our technology can offer important information and insightful analysis, it cannot fully account for this complexity. He also emphasizes the risks associated with earthquake prediction that result from false positives and negatives. A large earthquake prediction gone wrong could result in an unwarranted alarm and significant economic fallout, while a prediction ignored could result in terrible loss of life and property. Tyson, an astrophysicist, cautions against making forecasts about complex and dynamic systems since he is all too familiar with their difficulties. However, Tyson's doubts about earthquake forecasting do not apply to earthquake preparedness. Instead, he wholeheartedly supports the use of technology to create early warning systems, which can give crucial warnings seconds to minutes before the shaking begins, but after the earthquake has already started. According to Tyson, these technologies can save lives by providing people enough time to take precautionary measures. In addition, Tyson supports technological developments in architectural design and construction methods to make buildings more earthquake-resistant. Tyson supports cutting-edge engineering solutions that could considerably lessen the damage caused by earthquakes, from base isolation methods to the usage of flexible construction materials. Tyson's viewpoint on technological prognostications perfectly captures his pragmatism and scientific honesty. He emphasizes that while we should and can use technology to understand earthquakes and lessen their effects, we must also be aware of their limitations. 10. The influence of mass media and misinformation. Neil deGrasse Tyson frequently discusses the role of the media and the spread of false information when addressing the likelihood of the San Andreas Fault cracking soon. Tyson, who is well known for his science communication abilities, views precise, effective communication as a crucial tool in guiding the public's understanding of difficult scientific subjects like seismology. Tyson focuses his criticism of the media and false information on a number of crucial issues. First of all, he points out that earthquake projections are frequently sensationalized in the media, with a concentration on extreme scenarios that could make catchy headlines but do not correctly reflect the scientific consensus. He points out that this sensationalism can cause unneeded public concern and misunderstanding. Tyson also takes issue with the widespread use of pseudoscience in the media's reporting of earthquakes, including unfounded ideas, predictions, and misinterpretations of empirical evidence. Tyson cautions that such false information might undermine public confidence in reliable scientific discoveries and predictions in addition to misleading the public. In addition, Tyson criticizes the media's propensity to portray scientific ambiguity as a lack of comprehension. In order to reflect the complexity of natural events and the continual process of scientific discovery, he emphasizes that uncertainty is a key component of science. Misrepresenting this ambiguity might increase skepticism and confusion among the general population. Tyson does not only criticize the media, though. He also considers how important it is for the scientific community to actively engage the general people. Tyson agrees that it can be difficult for the general population to comprehend complex concepts and technical language. He urges scientists to connect with the public and the media, focus on their communication skills, and guarantee that their work is accurately portrayed. Tyson also emphasizes the significance of public media literacy. He exhorts people to scrutinize the information they take in, to look for reliable sources, and to recognize the distinction between a single research or opinion and a generally acknowledged scientific consensus. Tyson acknowledges the value of the media as a vehicle for science education, notwithstanding his critiques. He frequently uses his media platform to dispel myths, explain scientific ideas, and promote the use of evidence in decision-making. Tyson aims to promote a more scientifically aware and inquiring public through his varied media appearances. With that, we have reached the end of today's show. Do you agree with the opinionative Tyson with regard to imminent danger? Do let us know in the comment section below.